Good day, everyone, and welcome to The Journey. I am Reverend Bobby, and today I have with me my Spelman sister and really good friend, Frankie Claiborne Carter. How are you doing today, Frankie?
I am just fine, Reverend Bobby. I am doing great. Just happy to be here. Happy to share some thoughts with you today. Looking forward to our conversation.
Well, I've been so excited. I've been up since about 3 in the morning. I kept trying to take a nap. I was just too excited. So maybe I get a nap after this. Frank, just take a minute and give the people a little snippet on Frankie and who she is.
Okay. Well, as Reverend Bobby mentioned, I'm a Spelman graduate, 50 years plus. I'm a golden girl, about to be a diamond daughter. And it's been a wonderful journey. I am an educator by training. I started my career as a high school English teacher. And from there, I became an education supervisor in a medium security correctional facility in the Minnesota Department of Corrections. And we'll talk about how that journey, that became a part of my journey. And from there, I went to the U.S. Department of Justice in the National Institute of Corrections as a trainer. So my work life has been education and training, and I retired in 2019. And now I am a contractor. I work from home, and I am a grant writer, writing grants for nonprofits that assist with young African American men returning home in many cases from incarceration, but others who have had challenges and need assistance with housing or education, employment, reconnecting with their families, and staying out of the criminal justice system. So the work that I'm doing now really is a continuation of the work I've been doing, and very enjoyable work, and it's
It's so interesting how um, you started off saying I'm an educator because a lot of the people I talk to now were educators. Mommy and daddy were both educators, and even the woman who started the spiritual organization that I grew up in and was trained by all of them were teachers because teaching and education is so important. And how important have you found it to be in the work that you do?
well, I always wanted to be a teacher. You know how you ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? From about the fourth grade, I wanted to be a teacher. I actually used to play, being a teacher with my friends and teaching my little brother the alphabet and that kind of thing. I'm an avid reader, and I was reading books before I could read, actually just looking in books and writing in books, which wasn't always popular with my mom, but I
I'm
always
sure.
loved books. She finally gave me one, just a book that I could write in. And so I learned to read and write, and it just became a lifelong passion for me as an English major, English teacher, and I'm still an avid reader. I belong to a book club, and well, it's the Mimosa Book Club. So we drink mimosas and read and discuss books. So it's a really fun way to engage my habit of reading.
Well, I had to read. Mommy and daddy being teachers, and we read, we learned to comprehend, and as you know, a lot of the critical thinking aspect of learning has been taken out of schools right after we came through, and it's made a quite a difference in the mentalities of the people. What are some of the biggest things you see that are not being fulfilled through the inability to read, comprehend, and think critically?
They say reading is fundamental, and that's very true. And, not only do we read for information, which is extremely important, but we also read to be able to dream and see a bigger world for ourselves, because reading opens up new worlds. You learn about other cultures and people. I love historical fiction. And learning history through storytelling is just a really engaging and entertaining way to learn about history. And I think it's so important for children to read. When I was working in the correction system, we had a program called, we participated in Reading is Fundamental, but we also participated in a program called Mother Read, Father Read. And it stressed the importance of literacy in families and that parents are the first teachers of children. Mm-hmm. And parents who read to their children and parents who engage the children during the reading raise readers and successful thinkers as well, because you don't just read the book and say, see the bunny, because, they see the bunny, but engage in the story. The bunny may be doing some things that he shouldn't be doing. So why did the bunny do that? Mm-hmm. And then the child can respond, well, his mommy told him not to, and he did it anyway. And you start to teach lessons through the storytelling and engage the children in that way. And by the time they get to school, reading is fun because mommy and daddy did it. They took the time to do it. We enjoyed it. And, they can become more engaged when they do get to school with reading. And reading is a basic, not just for, courses in literature, but history, science, even math. There's reading in any subject. And if children are deficient in their reading skills, they're going to struggle in the other subjects as well. So, if you have kids or grandkids, make sure you're reading to them and with them and, put down the screens from time to time and pick up a book and take the kids to the library. I remember when my daughter was 6, we had been going to the library for a long time and picking out books, but the librarian asked her if she wanted her own card. And I said, well, she's only 6. And the librarian says, it doesn't matter. She's reading. And she got her own library card. And that was such a big deal. And I think now, because we do go so often to screens, and I'm not against it. I mean, if you'd like to download books and or even books, audio books, fine, it's fine. But I think with little children, that tangible engagement, that tactile, touch of reading a book, they're learning skills like the words go across the page from left to right. And you're going from top to bottom. If you see little children, they pick up a book, it might be upside down. If you read to them, then they know the orientation of the book. They know left to right. They know top to bottom. They're learning some spatial skills, even just with a simple act of reading a storybook.
You said spatial skills. And one of the things that I notice as, I move through things and do things, and set things up, counseling and stuff in the way that I do. I was telling a friend of mine this morning, I said, one of the questions I ask people, especially our age before we enter into anything is, did you like roller coasters? And I said, and I asked them that because if they like the roller coaster, we turn the corner, then they do much better dealing with things in life that people that didn't, like roller coasters. And we played a game in high school called dots, where you just make all these dots on the paper and then connect them and put your name in the box that you connect. And I asked that too, because if they play dots, they can connect the dots and see things step by step, spatial skills with looking out, with vision, and that kind of stuff. And I want you to share, man, about how important that is. But I also know you did some work writing some notes. And so I want you to get in there and dig up some of that good fanny stuff in a moment. But how important are the spatial skills that you've seen?
Being able to visualize something and you have an idea of what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. But until you can actually visualize that idea, how is it going to play out? What's the first step, the second step, and so forth to actualize that vision? Note taking, that's a way that I connect the dots, like you say. Mm-hmm. So once I write it down, I may not need to look at it again. I can visualize it. Mm-hmm. So just having that almost like a roadmap, just having that roadmap for your vision, so you know where you need to start and where you need to go from there, and if you hit a dead end there, how you need to pivot and go another way. So spatial skills, not just in terms of a tangible item like a map, but even in terms of visualization, like a map for your future, a map for your life.
But the spatial skills are important conceptually when you are, walking some stuff up between premise and conclusion, because, like you say, it's not tangibly there. So you got to put the stuff together kind of in your mind, and the spatial skills I found have come in real important in doing that. Okay, share some of your note stuff. break it down for us.
Well, in our previous conversation, we talked about what sustains you, what gets you through. Times today are very turbulent, lots of challenges, and how do you navigate those challenges? So that was what I was thinking about when I jotted down a few notes. And, the very first thing that came to my mind was family and friends. And these are the people in your corner. This is your support system. These are the folks who are going to see you through the times. And the family that we're born into, may or may not be the family of your choice. I understand that some people may have challenges within their families, but you create family as well along the way. So these are the people you meet along the way that fill those roles of support, caregiver, unconditional love. I hear people say, she's okay, but, and then they start listing all the things that they don't like about this person. Well, they don't really love that person if they've got all these buts, because love is unconditional. We love people just as they are. Now, we'll get into toxic people and what you do with them in a minute. But at the same time, I think it's so important to have create memories and traditions, a sense of legacy with the family, your family of birth or your family of choice, and your friends. And I think about family members who are no longer with us and how we preserve that legacy through our family traditions. I made Thanksgiving dinner last year. Second time I've ever made Thanksgiving dinner. I was never tasked with much during Thanksgiving. Really? I opened the cranberry sauce and I put the dinner rolls in the oven. That was about it. But, as we get older and we lose family members, the young become the old, and we become those matriarchs and patriarchs of our family. And this past 2 years, I made the turkey. I made the Thanksgiving dinner. It was pretty awesome to do that because it means they trusted me, for one. And
it means you trusted you too, though.
There was trust involved, but there was also legacy. There was also tradition. And what I mean by that, if you have family members who are making those special meals now, younger people, get in there with them and see what they're doing. Write those recipes down. My grandmother's cornbread dressing was the best I ever had. Her secret was sage. If you didn't have sage in it, it was not her cornbread dressing. So I say, you need to really honor those traditions. That's the legacy of the family. Create those memories. I have my daughter is 37. And when she was 4, we started going to see the Nutcracker at Christmas time. We'd always see a performance of the Nutcracker. And she enjoyed it. The first year she was 4, she slept through most of it. I kept trying to prop her up. Tickets were expensive.
You was having so good of a time.
Well, with expensive tickets, I was trying to prop her up so she could see it. But when she was 6, I asked her if she wanted to go to see the Nutcracker or do something else for Christmas. And she said, "Mama, we might as well stick with tradition." And here she is, a 6-year-old. She's only been twice, and she's calling it a tradition. This past year, she came home for Christmas, and we went to see the Nutcracker, and it was just wonderful. It was.
Where is she now?
She lives in LA. So she gets home a couple times a year, but it was just wonderful to recreate that tradition. And she and her cousins actually made a gingerbread house. And here you got these 30, 40, 50-year-old kids sitting around making a gingerbread house. And I have pictures of them. They were engrossed. They were having fun. It was just like when they were kids again. And it brought back for them those good memories. And I think we have to create those memories and those traditions and that legacy, that sense of this is who we are. These are the people that we came from. And the way I see that helping us through hard times is the resilience. Our parents and grandparents and great grandparents did not have it easy. And I mean, times are turbulent right now, challenging right now, but this is not new for us. This is
No,
not new. We
that
have faced challenges. We have faced just
tremendous.
insurmountable circumstances,
Yes.
and still we rise, so we have to remember that. And I think by living with that sense of legacy and tradition and honoring our parents and grandparents, we don't need anybody to tell us that we can celebrate Black history. We know we've been celebrating Black history for forever, and we'll continue to do so.
Well,
So
we are the Black history because it's
we are.
the Black Hour story when we were
Yes.
in the breakfast for the guys when we was down for a reunion, and I had a chance to talk to them for a minute. Just people different than classmates. I just reminded them that not only did we form a lot of dreams and that kind of stuff while we were there, because we called Atlanta the Dream Factory because we were free to dream. But Frankie, the important part, the part we can't forget, the real part is we were the answers to so many dreams. The day we walked through that gate in 1970, and how does that make you feel?
That is so true. That is so true. I talked to my daughter about that, and I said, today, and especially social media, people post all the wonderful things they're doing, and everybody else is looking at it and thinking they're somehow behind it because they don't have all these things. And, we had potential.
Mhm.
I think when we walked through those gates, we had potential. And our parents recognized our potential, our teachers, those folks who wrote us letters of reference, the admissions officers who took us in, our professors, they saw that potential. And that's what I think we got at Spelman Morehouse through our experience. Our potential was developed, and we were able to be the answer to that dream that our parents and grandparents and great grandparents had for us and for our communities. Because, after we left Atlanta, we spread back out across the country, and we took what we developed at Spelman and Morehouse with us, and we planted those seeds all across the country. And now the fruit of our labor are our children, and in my case, my students that I taught, for you, your congregation, all the people that we touch now are the seeds, are the fruit of that labor, of that potential that we had and that was developed.
I had the kids, 7th, 8th grade through high school.
Mm-hmm.
Those were mine. But then, you would also see the grandmothers who had them children with them, who at the time was knee high to my ankle, right?
Right.
Now they're juniors and seniors in college, Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing good, and they're excelling, and they check on.
I see my former students a lot. I see them, just at the mall, and I still go to the mall. One of a few people we still have one mall.
Yeah, Frank.
See them at the mall or the grocery store or wherever, and and they thank me. And one young woman said, "You never know who's watching you." She said, "We were watching you. You were our role model. And we really appreciate you. We love you." And oh my God, I told him to stop because we were in the middle of Dillard's. I said, "You're gonna make me cry," But we have to help to foster that in the generations that are following now, because some of our kids are being raised on social media. They're on a screen all the time. They're always, playing a game, or they're on TikTok, and all of that has a place. But we can't let social media raise our children. That's not the answer.
The thing that I see with it is it's the lack of the human connection, the socialization where you learn to be somewhat compassionate, where you learn that other people and their ideas and where they stand, means something, because you're belly up in that situational stuff personally, instead of hiding behind the screen and could say things and act ugly and those kinds of things. Now, the technology part of it, I love, because son does all that stuff here, and his wife got 2 awards for their movie at Essence and stuff, because that's his thing in life. And I told him last time I saw him, I said, when you gonna start to teach? And he looked at me and said, I've never thought about it. I said, well, you got to think about it, because his friends call him genius. I have a hard time doing it because he's my son. I really do, but he's really good. And I told him it's yours too, pass down and to mentor others and stuff, because that's what happened to us. So I think we were in a good position to do this, because we understood, especially from being in school, the value of the relationship development that we did at that time. That this 54 years later, look, we still hanging out, right. And that means something.
It means a lot
foundationally, to people. And I mean, what else could we say? I know you got some more to say, because you're a Spelman woman. So,
but I mean, got a lot to say.
yeah.
I think when we talk about our young people, that's one end of the spectrum. But since we are at the other end of the spectrum, we're older, more seasoned. There are some things we need to do for ourselves in this stage of life too. And I think, when you're young, work-life balance is a big issue. Trying to, raise your family, go to work, have time for your kids. And it can be a lot. It can be a challenge. And I say for young people, take the time with your kids, make sure you go into their school activities and their sports activities, support them. The dividends just pay off enormously. That creates those memories that I was talking about, and that family connection. But, you also have to take time for yourself. You need some self-care. Mm-hmm. Now, it's important to go to work and build a career, whatever your passion is, and make that work for you and your family, so you have financial security. Prepare for retirement. It comes quicker than you think financially. Prepare for retirement, but also as you are getting towards retirement, or if you have retired, or if you're working part-time, you still have to find things to do. I work from home now on the contract that I have, so it's really nice to be able to work from home. I started this job during pandemic, and it was a perfect time because we weren't going anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
But now, I find the work very rewarding, and working from home allows me to, do my laundry during the day, and I don't have to do everything on the weekend. That's why I can chat with you on a Saturday, because I don't have laundry to do. But the other part of that is you still have to find meaningful things to do. I have some friends who have recently retired, and they're struggling a bit, not financially, but they're struggling with, what do I do every day?
I know.
We are social beings, and we have to find things to do. Yeah. And, volunteer work is just so rewarding. I volunteer a lot through my church. And last week we took diapers and wipes and children's clothes from infant to 3 toddler to a shelter where we know it's needed and it's appreciated. And the money that you spend is tiny compared to the rewards you get when you're helping. We had a blanket drive.
Yeah. It's really nominal, along with my other stuff at church and that kind of stuff. One of my minister friends, in fact, one of my best friends here, she had a homeless ministry. Mm-hmm. And she started one Thanksgiving back. She had all this overcooked food, all this food she cooked. Mm-hmm. And they went down and fed the homeless who used to live downtown under the lower level of Wacker Drive. It's a double level old street down there. And it blossomed into other things. And I think I was sharing with you. And with that, a lot of ex-offenders, substance abusers, people that need mental help and assistance, because they close most of the places here. And trying to support them, out of our pocket, with little money, but the reward, how we felt was
Yes.
so wonderful. Some you said I was going to ask you about, but I don't forgot. And but I will say this. I called Beverly the other day, Halls, and her message says, "Hi, this is Beverly. I could be out doing something." I'm like, "You're a Spelman woman. Y'all always out doing something." My mama was one. I know y'all story.
We're always out doing something.
but it's like, when I talk to people, I tell them, I said, not only did we call Atlanta the Dream Factory, but we called Morehouse Social Justice University, because that was placed, and I mean, like, not bang home in us, but in the underlying everything that we do, everything that we've been about all of our life. No, everybody doesn't do the same thing the same way, but the underlying girding, foundational stuff is that social justice, and some kind of way, I believe that the foundational stuff is the most important stuff that's going to bring us in and through all of this stuff. What about you, Frankie?
Absolutely, absolutely. As we climb the ladder, we have to reach back and pull others up too. We can't do like so many people have done. They climb the ladder and they pull the ladder up. They make sure nobody else can get there. We have to always look back and see who we can bring along. And you mentioned the homelessness in any city, it's an issue. And, being able to provide for the least of our brothers. At our church, we have a statue in a garden that's called the Homeless Jesus. And it's a figure on a park bench, and the figure is covered up, and you can't really see the person because they're under a blanket, but the feet are out, and you can see the wounds, the nail wounds on the feet. And it's the homeless Jesus because, whatever we do for the least of our brothers, we do for him. And it reminds us as we walk through that garden that we have to do this work. It is not even a nice thing to do. It's an essential part if we are Christians. And I'm Christian, but I think it extends beyond a religious sect. I think it's human, not just
I agree with you.
Faith group, everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll get into spirituality a little bit too, but I want to just circle back to life balance. We have to socialize. We are social beings. So whether that socialization be through volunteerism, which is an easy way to connect with people who are like-minded and do good things, but it can also be through hobbies. I mentioned my reading and the book club, and that just grew out of one day after church. We were having brunch, and some of the women in the group, were talking about the books they've read, and everybody's, have you read this? Have you read that? And then somebody said, well, we ought to have a book club. And we were having the mimosas at the meeting, at the luncheon. And so that's how the book club came about. But it can be something as simple as that. People think, oh, I have to have a lot of money. I have to travel. I have to golf. I have to join the country club. And no, I mean, it can be whatever your passion is.
Right.
And it can be things you didn't have time to do while you were working, because you were so busy. So in retirement, taking the opportunity to do some volunteerism or work part-time or get involved with hobbies you have put on the back burner, or even learning new things, because learning new things is the way we keep our minds sharp. We don't have to decline with age. We don't have to decline mentally. We need to be learning new things because that's what makes those synapses in the brain fire and create those connections that keep our brains healthy. So it's just like exercise for the brain to learn new things. So, learn a foreign language or learn how to play a musical instrument or just something new that challenges your brain to make those connections and keep you mentally strong.
So how do you feel as the elder, the person, the people with the wisdom, as the journey for today closes up? How do you feel? How does it make you feel as now as the elder and the person that holds and the wisdom holder to pass it down? And then after you tell me that, give the people something good to hang on to till the next time we do this.
Okay. It feels good. I told somebody it really feels good getting older. And he said to me, it doesn't feel good at all. He was talking about how his knees hurt and this. I have my challenges too. Now, I know I don't feel like I felt, I mean, physically, I don't feel like I felt 50 years ago. But I'm not gonna focus on that. I think mentally and emotionally, if somebody told me we can reset the clock, we can take you back 50 years, we can start all over again. If I could go back with the experience, the education, the knowledge that I have, I'd go back in a minute. But if I just had to go back and start all over again, I don't think I want to. I feel my life is so full and so rich right now. This is a good place to be. I do what I can in terms of self-care to stay healthy. And I'm talking about all the stuff we know we need to do, get some good rest, sleep, 8 hours, sometimes 9 hours, get some exercise. And you don't have to, run a marathon, go dance and do something you enjoy doing, and nutrition. I had to cut back on the sweets. My blood sugar level was going up and diabetes runs in my family. I said, nope, I'm not going out like that. So, I can't have the chocolate and ice cream every night, but every now and then I still indulge. Go to doctor's visits regularly, make sure that you're getting all those diagnostic tests. And if something comes up, you can, deal with it right away. But most
my good friend, I was telling you, that had the ministry that I was with her and the girls, they be in Cabo and stuff and sitting around talking. And they be talking about the men they know that don't go to the doctor and don't take care of themselves. Yeah. TC say, hold on 1 minute. I got this friend. He stay on top of his stuff because he's determined to be healthy. Well, Frankie, the journey for today has come to a close, and I thank you for making yourself available. And we'll get to the spirituality and stuff, but it'll be next time, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. No problem. Okay. I look forward to it.
All right, this is Reverend Bobby, guys, and this was and is the journey, and journey well always. Peace be unto you. Let me cut it off.